Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, made possible by donations from listeners like Dennis Melrup of Hoboken, New Jersey, we spoke to a player who has seen 2009 produce a thicker wallet, but maybe not quite the results his team wanted this week at the BDO Classic Canadian Open. On the phone from Winnipeg, where his team is 2-2 at the third Capital One Grand Slam, the BDO Classic Canadian Open, David Nedohin, welcome back to the Curling Show.
Thanks, Dean. Always good to chat with you.
It's a bit of a humbling game, isn't it? You 2 weekends ago, you're holding a big check over your heads, literally and figuratively a big check, and then you lose two tough extra end games at this event, Jeff Stoughton and Kevin Cooey. I'm going to guess you're playing as well. It's just the way the game goes. Yeah,
it is. I mean, sometimes you can be playing, like you said, as well as you did the weekend before, and, one weekend you'll get the results you want, and the next weekend you won't, and we're, overall we're pretty satisfied with how we're playing. We just, like you said, a couple extra in games, and Blake McDonald make a good shot against us, and then we forced Stoughton to draw a full 4 foot, and he made that too, so I mean, certainly credit goes out to the teams that have beat us so far, but we're playing well, and we're still alive and kicking in the thing.
Certainly the Skins were a bit of a breakthrough for you guys this year, but was there a moment earlier, though, when you started to feel like maybe the old form was coming back?
Well, I think through most of the year we've looked at it and realized that we've probably been playing as well as we have for the last couple of years, and we've had some real unfortunate breaks on a couple of events that knocked us out of the quarterfinals with a picked rock on the last rock of one of ours, and then the next weekend, there was another, actually in the last game of the quarterfinals, the next weekend there was actually a fluke that was made against us when it was a missed shot and ended up losing that way too. So we've been playing well and just maybe not quite getting the results that we'd hoped for to this point. But what we focus on right now is the process and not necessarily the results. The results will come. And last weekend, like you said, it was a good breakthrough for us, winning a game and playing in a field with Howard and Martin. After playing those guys, they've been on top of their game this year, so to come out with a win, even though it's Skins and a little bit different than regular curling, it just, felt good.
Separately here, apart from you guys, I'm looking at the Capital One Grand Slam. I see Tom Brewster back in the fold. Where's David Murdoch?
I don't know where he is, to be honest. I'm not sure how they decided who was coming to this event. I know that in the past few years, Scotland's done some different things in terms of who's going to the Olympics and World, things like that. So maybe that's just part of the process of figuring out who's exactly going to be in Vancouver next year. So I'm not sure. I just saw his name on it too, and really never thought too much about how they decide that. But
I don't like the Scottish selection process at all. I like to see guys win, but it seems like Murdoch's been anointed, and I thought Brewster was banished to somewhere far north or something.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like Murdoch was sort of the chosen one for them. So maybe he still is, but maybe it's not even clear as to who the team is. I don't really know.
All right.
But nonetheless, Brewster's here, and
you did get a 5 against Greg McCauley.
Yeah, exactly. And but they've been playing tough, so he's a really good player, and he's got a strong team. So there's a number of teams out of Scotland that are quite strong. So you can't really just look at one and say that Murdoch's the only one from there. They've got quite a few good teams there.
Hey, let's go back to the TSN Casino-Rama Skins, where you guys came away with $70,000. A bit of vindication for you maybe last year. Since last year you weren't invited. Jeff Stoughton on this podcast thought that you should have been last year. Did that add anything to winning this year?
No, I mean, we really wanted to be there last year, and we were quite surprised that we weren't. Whereas this year, you could argue that probably we might not have been the team that should have been chosen based on last year's performance. But, it's totally up to TSN. It's all ratings based, and they decide who they want in the event. And we were just thrilled that we were invited this year. Certainly we, like I said, we felt like we probably deserved, based on how we've been playing the year before, to be there. So to get the call this year was great, and I think that based on this year's performance, we played very well, and certainly TSN had a very very strong field that was there, and there's always motivation to win the Skins, but I mean you don't need added motivation. Let's put it that way. When you've got 70,000 and you could potentially win, the field that's there and nationally televised in an event like a venue like it was at Casino-Rama, there is so much motivation to win. It's just an incredible event.
It is a terrific production, and hats off to them again for doing. I think they really have elevated how we can present curling. But one negative this year, I guess, was there was lots of talk, unfortunately, about rocks and ice conditions. I don't think it diminishes your victory in any way. But what are your thoughts on the fact that they were sort of trying out new rocks in an event that's this big for curling?
Well, we played with both sets of rocks and found them to be fine. So I don't know that it was the rocks. And, these rocks have been used in a curling club for quite some time, I guess, and that type of thing. But the rocks, to me, seemed fine. We didn't really have any issue with them. I know we played with the yellow set in the final, which was supposedly the bad set, I guess you could say. And we found one to be just a hair straighter, maybe, but other than that was about it. The ice on the first day was a little bit challenging. You had to make sure that you were really strong in your releases. And after the first couple ends, when we saw, what was happening with some of the rocks, we just kind of got together as a team and said, this is what we need to do to make sure that we're throwing them the way that you need to on this ice. And I think that we adjusted pretty well on it.
Hey, when you play Glenn, there's a big measure in 7. I'm not sure they got it right, actually, and it didn't seem like anybody in the ice thought that either. Did you think maybe they were gunning for the carryover to the 8th, no matter what the dial on the stick indicated?
Well, I was certainly hoping the game was over in 7, and I thought for sure when I was looking at it that it was ours. That's why when the official came and measured it and we saw that it was theirs, I asked for them to just do it one more time. But nonetheless, it came back that it was theirs again on the measure, and that's the way it goes. So we go into 8 and all the money on the line, which was perfect for TSN and fine for us as long as we won in 8, I guess.
Yeah, I think there was a producer from TSN in the guy's ear just make it a carryover myself.
Yeah, no,
I'm kidding.
Like that.
But it was certainly more exciting. It would have been sort of a drag, to be honest, if it was over in 7.
You're right. For the event and for the fans, and for TSN and everything, it was definitely great that it went down to the 8th end and last rock and everything. But for us, probably not the way we were hoping it was going to go. But that's okay. We hung in there, and after kind of thinking that we had it won, we played a really nice 8th end.
Hey, Jennifer Jones, by any fair assessment, I think, looked overmatched against Glenn Howard, and I think some of that's, I think some of it's due to the fact that the women's game is different than the men's game, for sure. Also that her team and her, they're just struggling in general this season, I think. What do you think of the chances of seeing a women's team next year in the Skins event?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like you said, their team has had its ups and downs this year a little bit, but we didn't see the best out of Jennifer Jones' team there either. So you're right, it did look a little lopsided in terms of how the game went. But I mean, if you played that game again or 10 more times, you're probably going to see a better game than we saw that one. That was just one of those days for them where they didn't have a great game, and Howard was playing well, and there's just absolutely no way you can have an off game against Howard and expect it to be close or competitive. So I don't know. I mean, I actually had a little bit of time to talk with Phil King and from TSN, and they're actually not sure what they're doing next year yet, but I think that they're still in that process of deciding how they're going to sort of select their teams. I know that obviously having maybe Olympic reps would be pretty exciting. So they're going to figure it out. But I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't a great game, but I certainly think that Jones has the ability to give them a better game than they did. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that is a point though. In an Olympic year, they might have make it a more international event. I guess could be that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be international. I think it'll be Canadian teams, but the trials are in December, so they might be holding off to find some spots from that type thing.
Do you and your wife Heather ever engage in the male versus female curler debate?
No, we don't.
You avoid that, do you?
Too many debates like that because there's really not a lot of chance that I would ever win that kind of debate anyway. So I pretty much avoid that one with Heather. But
you're wise.
No, she's a good sport about it, and we actually don't talk a whole lot of curling, to be truthful. We both kind of live it and breathe it so much that when we get home, it's more about the families and what we're going to be doing and spending time together and that sort of thing. But curling's not a big part of our topic of conversation because, to be honest with you, our kids couldn't care less. So we try not to spend a lot of time at the dinner table talking about that.
Well, good for you. That's probably healthy. There was part of the thing at the TSN Casino-Rama Skins was that you broke a long stretch of not beating Kevin Martin. A couple of years ago, you guys put out a book with Terry Jones, the Edmonton Sun, that pulled no punches. I don't think I'm the only guy who's noticed that you guys have struggled against Kevin since then, but so have a lot of other teams, to be fair. But do you ever regret some of the things that went into that book?
Oh, no, not at all. The book was just sort of a kind of an honest touch on the on the discussion and on the rivalry between us and Martin. And there was certainly nothing that was said that was out of line. I think if you went back and had a look at it, a number of times it talks about the fact that we certainly credit Kevin with just being an incredible player, and certainly one of the toughest competitors that we played against. So there was nothing that was said that wasn't true in terms of the rivalry and our opinion of him as a player. So and over the last couple of years, I think that the rivalry between us and Martin certainly has settled down to some extent. We spend actually a lot of time with their team just because we're in a lot of the events together, and Mark and Ben and John and us have kind of grown up and played against each other, me and Scott and Marcel to some extent for quite some time. So we do spend time together and socialize, and they're great guys. So and we've, like you said, as far as the record goes, we haven't played or haven't had the results against them the last year and a half that we had been getting before that. I think we've gone about 8 or 9 games without beating them, but provincial finals last year, the 3 games that we lost to them there, Kevin made one of the most incredible shots that I've seen to beat us on one. And
it really was, actually, that triple.
Yeah, and they get up against us. They play extremely well, and if there's a team that they want to beat more than anybody, I'm guessing it's still us. And if there's a team that we want to beat more than anybody, I would guarantee it's still them. So, but it's good. We're playing well, and if we're making them throw last shot, miracle shots from time to time, and we can win a few here and there, then we're probably doing as well as anybody does against them.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you mentioned Marcel there. I'm a front end player myself. I should let people know that I tried to have Marcel on, but he blew me off. What's up with that?
Marcel is not on email very often, and it's probably not the best bet to get a hold of him through that. So I'm sure he wants to be on, but he's kind of technology inept, let's put it that way.
All right. See, I love the email invites. So, maybe another time. Hey, let's talk Olympics and Tim Horton's Roar of the Rings for a moment. Your team's in a fairly good position to get one of those 4 direct entries to Edmonton. Usually, I think on your team, it's Scott Pfeiffer who works out all the possible permutations. Has he? And do you know what they are?
Yeah, we know exactly what has to happen for us to get into the Olympic trials directly, and that's that we need to keep winning. Pretty simple formula. There's not a lot of permutations that we really care about except for getting as many points as we can. And right now, if it ended right now, I think we're in just barely. We're still chasing, I guess a week ago or 2 weeks ago, a bunch of teams went over to Scotland while we were in the Skins game, and some teams are in some pretty big points there. When Cooey won that, and I know that Burtnick got some good points. So Cooey jumped ahead of us a bit, so we're chasing him for the 1 spot, and we're ahead of Burtnick and Madod just by a small margin for the other spot. So if we keep playing like we are, and I guess finish out the year kind of strong and play on a consistent basis, then we're confident that we'll get in. But again, it's part of the process, and we've evaluated all the different ways that or what could possibly happen for us to get to the trials. And if it means pre-trials, then it means pre-trials, just again part of the process. But we're certainly hoping for that, and based on the way we're playing, we're not expecting it, but it certainly can happen. Yeah,
and you got a big game tonight, actually, I guess. We're talking about all this against Reed Carruthers. You really need to win to stay in the mix here, don't you?
Yeah, we do. It's an important game, but we're not going to put too much pressure on it. We had to win this morning against Simmons, and we came out and played very well. So tonight we'll go out and try and do the same sort of thing against Carruthers, and if we play well, then we'll qualify and go from there. But just sort of one game, one end at a time for us right now, and at the end of the year, we'll know where it all fits and what we need to do next year. But like I said, the formula is just keep playing well and winning.
Speaking of Pat Simmons, I talked to John Morris briefly about that team. A guys who seem to be almost universally well-liked, but certainly struggling this year. What do you think's gone wrong for them?
Well, it's a finicky game. When you're confident, it just seems like everything goes your way, and when you need someone to miss a shot, they do, and when you need to have a break go your way, maybe with a fortune or roll or bounce or tick, it always does. And the minute you start losing confidence, then all those things start going against you. So it's a game of karma and confidence, and right now they've just lost their confidence, and it's certainly showing on the ice. And today we played them, and they played extremely well for the first three ends, and we were pretty fortunate to be up a couple points. We had to make some great shots. So even when they're playing well, it just seems probably like other teams are making those great shots right back against them. So it can be frustrating, I know that, and I know they've had just a really, really flat year. So for them, it's they originally thought they had a chance to go directly to the trials with a good season, and I think that's all but eliminated now. So I'm sure it's just process now, and the process is knowing that they're in the pre-trials and what they need to do to try and get themselves back on track.
Yeah, I'm sure they're scratching their heads a bit, but like you say, they can get confidence back pretty quickly too. Pat can certainly get on a roll. We know that. What do you think are the chances? You talk about the pre-trials in St. George. The pre-trials in Prince George. What do you think the chances are the team that grabs that Olympic spot will come out of there?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. You look at the last Olympic trials. I think Gushu is probably, rated 9th or whatever out of the 10 teams, and he goes out there and wins the trials and Olympic gold. So it's such a strong field that we're going to have at the trials, and it's really going to be the greatest curling event in the history of the sport, I would imagine, being that Vancouver is on the line, and who knows when the Olympics will be back in Canada again. So I think it's going to probably be the greatest curling event ever. It's in Edmonton, so it's going to be a sold-out arena and an incredible venue. And all 8 teams that are there, whether they come out of the pre-trials or they go directly there, are going to have a great chance to win. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, I tend to think if a team does go to Prince George and gets on a bit of a roll, they might have a bit of an advantage coming into Edmonton, which I'm sure will be a great event, like you said. Hey, Curl TV, of course, is a venture that you're closely tied to through your company Status Firm. I'm a big fan of it, and when I hear people complain about it, I like to remind them, or complain about service or whatever else, I like to remind people that there used to be no way to see events at all, like the Cashmiel and Brooks and great things like that. But there is definitely less coverage this year, and we're in some tough economic times. Is this just a tough business model to make work?
Yeah, it is. It is. I certainly believe that a number of years ago that there was a good opportunity to broadcast sports into niche markets via online networks, and Curl TV was born, as were another number of other networks that we built. And the biggest challenge this year has been that we couldn't get any content secured from TSN. So everything that we've worked towards in the past, for the second half of the season, a lot of it had to do with events like the Brier and Canada Cup and juniors and things like that, and we couldn't get any content from TSN this year. So that being said, TSN moved into a transition mode this year where they were, they took over the Season of Champions from CBC, and I think they just needed time to really evaluate how they were going to sort of attack this and what the online content meant for them in terms of their advertisers and broadcasting rights and responsibilities, and it wasn't something that they probably could jump into right away in a relationship with us. So that being said, we're working certainly on assessing what we can do to provide more content to viewers for the year coming up, and to be honest, we're certainly looking at the options of expanding Curl TV and making it a lot larger than it is, hopefully for next season. So it's probably in what you'd call transition mode. We realized that there was less content for our viewers just because of the rights that we could not obtain in CBC, as similarly didn't have us.
I was going to ask you that. You guys used to have these preliminary round games from the Capital One Grand Slams, and I guess something's changed with your relationship with CBC as well.
Yeah, we certainly would love to have continued doing that too, and I think that the economic times for CBC were just that it wasn't something they could afford to do this year. So so a lot of our content certainly in the second half of the season in the past has been Grand Slams and Season of Champions related. So it didn't work out this year, but it looks like we will be just hopefully closing in on an arrangement to get both the men's and the women's world later in the season, and And like I said, it's more strategic discussions right now in terms of what we do for next year and how we can make sure that we secure content, or what the process will be to working with some of the broadcasters. And, and building Curl TV into probably a larger scale model than what it is now, so that we can create more of more value to the customer for rather than just the live game coverage. So we're in that process right now.
Well, like I say, I tell people to be patient, because we've gone from zero to something. So, and I think it's a tough model to make work, to be honest. I think you're not the only outfit out there struggling to make that model work, and I think it can, but it's not easy.
No, it's certainly not. And we have a number of properties that are in that same sort of space, niche markets, and revenues based on advertising or membership dollars, and those are the ones that are certainly having us challenges. And we've addressed that in a number of different ways, differently for each property.
Curlers are frugal as well, we might add. So.
That's true. That's okay. We love our curling fans. And,
I love curlers and curling fans too. But as someone with an online venture myself, I'm acutely aware of how frugal they can be.
That's true. But we're looking forward to putting some arrangements together, hopefully with both CBC and TSN. And we know that I've had some very good discussions with TSN so far. So we'll see what it leads forward to towards next year.
All right. Well, good to hear. Hey, Dave, we finished with a run back. I'll let you get done with this and get ready for your game against Reed Carruthers.
Sounds good.
I'll give you a topic. Give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words. The grumbling about playdown formats that occurs every year about this time in Canada and elsewhere.
Most of it's right.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's a good one. I definitely agree with that. The insistence on using the word classic in the BDO Classic Canadian Open. Talk to somebody there, Dave. Just tell them that it's the BDO Canadian Open would be a much better event.
I will make sure to do that. I don't know. All I can say is, hey, it's Winnipeg, and the fans are great out here.
Oh, I love the event. It just drives me crazy, the Classic Canadian Open. But anyways,
exactly.
Pat Ryan, 5th for Pete Corner in the Ontario Provincials.
Great to hear.
Being the guy on your team who most often needs a spare at events.
Well, that's life, I guess.
You're the busiest, I think.
Yeah, that's life, but also it's personality too, in that some people can just in their own, the way they work, they can be away from home more time than others. And for me, I just I need to have a few weekends off to sort of recharge my batteries at home.
Well, good for you for figuring that out. Toronto media coverage of the TSN Casino-Rama Skins.
Well, seemed okay to me.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good, actually. I'd go with great, but anyways.
Yeah, okay. To me, it was good. I know that there's been lots of complaints in the past about it, but I read a few stories that came out afterwards and looked good to me.
Glenn Despin's new rink with Brian Derboca, Chris Heichert, and Brock Montgomery.
Volatile.
Yeah, that's a good one. They are volatile.
I actually didn't really know about it, but you just said it. I'm like, wow.
You hadn't heard the team before? It's
actually pretty good. But
yeah, pretty good team, but fiery crew, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Mixed doubles.
A lot of fun.
Kevin Martin's appearance in a Capital One commercial with behind-the-scene details to be revealed in the next issue of the Curling News.
Looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I think curling needs someone like Peyton Manning. We don't have any curler who's really awesome on camera yet.
Yeah,
maybe you, Dave.
I
I love Randy, but I don't know, in those Strauss drops, he doesn't really kill it.
Come on, the sunglass.
The sunburned face. Yeah.
Those were some of the worst commercials.
They really were.
They certainly did the job, because everyone's still talking about them. I'm sure Strauss loved them, but Randy was just comical in them.
I love Randy, but man, yeah. Bob Weeks had a good comment. He was watching with some non-curlers, and they thought the Strauss, all the Strauss commercials at first, they thought were something from the Rick Mercer report. And finally, your wife Heather's team this season.
Depends on which one shows up.
No, there you go. Yeah, it looks like a lack of consistency.
Yeah, they have enough talent, and they play well enough to honestly beat anybody. But sometimes it's just a different team that shows up. So if they could be the Nedohin team that shows up when they're playing well, there's nobody that can stop them. I think they're going to be a real dark horse this week in the provincials.
All right, Dave, I give everybody a chance to name sponsors, and I know that's a big part of your team, so let me know who's behind you. I know some of them, but list them again.
Sure, yeah. World Financial Group has been our title sponsor for a number of years now, so they're a huge part of the success of our team. As has JVC, they've been with us for a long time as well, so we thank them. Prism Flow Products and Continental Stress out of Edmonton, and then also Ferbey's Curling Stores. For those of you who don't know, he has an Asham Curling Store and Curl TV.
All right, Dave, thanks for your time, squeezing it in here between games, and good luck in the rest of the event, the Capital One Grand Slam. Good luck in your game against Reed Carruthers tonight.
Thank you very much.
That's David Nedohin on The Curling Show. Remember that to find out what's coming up on this podcast and to offer suggestions for future shows, join the Curling Show group on Facebook. As always, thanks for listening. Enjoy the pudding.
Salt blast screaming, Jim beaming, no 2 grains of sand are alive. Sow the seed, reap the speed, angel's wing on a Chinese kite, yeah!